If you've been working with Linux for a while, you've probably heard the myth. Arch Linux is too hard to install. But let me tell you, that is one big misconception. Installing Arch Linux is way easier than most people make it out to be. In fact, today we're going to prove it together. This process is simple, and I'll guide you every step of the way. Let's get right into it. First things first, what you are going to want to do is go to archlinux.org, go to the download page, scroll down to the geomirror.pkgbuild.com and get this Arch Linux 2025 ISO file image. When you have done that, you are going to want to go to the VM workstation player and press Create New Virtual Image. In here you want to press the installer disk image file ISO, and you want to have the Arch Linux ISO selected for this. If it isn't here yet, you can go to Browse and find it in your file system. Then press Next. Now it will ask you to select a guest operating system, and what you want to do is press Linux and then select Other Linux 5.x kernel 64-bit and press Next. Now it asks you to give your virtual machine a name, and I will be naming it Arch Linux, but you can name it whatever you want. Then it will ask you to specify disk capacity, and I leave this at default at 8 gigabytes. It will also ask you to split the virtual disk into multiple files or store virtual disk as a single file, and you will want to select Store Virtual Disk as a single file and press Next. Then it is going to give you an option to customize the hardware, which you're going to want to select, and you want to bring up that memory to about 2500 megabytes of memory. Then you're going to close this and press Finish. Now it will be added to your virtual machines that you can play, and I'm just going to press Play Virtual Machine, and it should instantly boot up. And open this Arch Linux page. Just let it run and it will automatically boot. The time it takes to boot takes a while, so in the meantime you can grab a drink or some food and just lay back and relax, and when you come back it should be installed. Once your system boots from the ISO, you will be greeted with a bare bones Arch Linux environment. From here, let's start making things happen. The first command that you want to type is python-m arch install guided, like this. This is the guided installation script that makes the process much easier, especially for beginners. Now, after that, you get a menu, and how you navigate through that menu is you use the up and down arrows to select certain settings, and you use the Enter key on your keyboard to select that specific setting, and you use the Escape key to get out of that setting. Here you have to do a few simple configurations, like setting up your root password and setting up user accounts, also setting up your disk configuration and your bootloader, and I will walk you through the most important settings. So first you have the Arch install language, which I would just leave at English. Then you have the locales, which is like your local language, your keyboard layout, and your local encoding. Now you can set this to any language you want. You can pick a lot of different things. I'm just going to leave it at English US. And I will also leave the keyboard layout at US, and I would not change the local encoding. Now select back with Enter, and here you have the mirrors. If you select this, you can select the mirror region, and for this you can select the country that you live in or a country near you. I'm not going to select anything. Select back, Now you have the disk configuration, which is very important. Here you want to select the first option, and I'm going to select VMware. Now the file system that I would use is BTRFS, and select no on this, and select disable on copyright. And then here you can see the disk configuration information. Check if this is good and then select back. Now for the disk encryption you can choose to encrypt your disk, but I am not going to do that. So we're going to select back. Swap on ZRAM, leave that enabled. The bootloader, use grub, keep it that way. Unified kernel images, leave them disabled. The hostname is Arch Linux, which is fine. You can select a root password here if you want. I'm not going to do that. When you get to user account, you actually want to add a user so that when you reboot the system, you can immediately log in. So I am just going to create my own user here. You can create whatever you want, but make sure you remember the password. And then you get the option, should your username be a super user? Now I would press yes. And then you can confirm and exit. Here you can set up your profile. And I would leave it just as a pre-programmed desktop profile. Here select GNOME or KDE Plasma. Now I'm going to choose GNOME. Then select the graphics driver. And for this I am going to select VMware. You can select the greeter here, which is set to GDM, which is good. Go back. Now for the audio I would choose Pipewire. The kernel, you should leave that at Linux. So then we have network configuration, and we're going to select that and choose use network manager, so the third option. Then we are going to install an additional package, which is Firefox. That is a very handy one, so you can look things up, and it's a search engine. You can also install some optional repositories, which we're not going to do. You can select your time zone, which I would just leave it as it is. And I would just enable the automatic time sync, so you don't even have to select a time zone. Then you are going to press install, and this will be applied. We're just going to select yes. Now it's giving us a countdown, and this is also going to take very, very long. Once the installation is complete, you want to type reboot in here. So reboot your system. Now, as it's starting up here, you will see this little menu and just leave it on the first option. Now it's going to boot your Arch Linux system. Now, after you rebooted the system, you get the opportunity to log into the user that you added in the guided Arch install. Just enter the password that you made. That's why it was very important to remember this. And now it is going to actually load your Arch Linux system. So now I am here in my Arch Linux system. I can look for stuff. I have a desktop set up. I have my notepad. I can show apps over here, which have all of these cool things. I can go on Firefox and it will open this nice page. So right now I am just going to open the console and I'm going to type pacman -syu to update the system. And I cannot do that, so we're going to do sudo pacman, and it will tell you to type in your password, and it is already updated. And that, my friends, is how you install Arch Linux. I told you it was easy. Don't let all the myths fool you. Arch is simple when you follow the steps. And with the guided installation tool, you don't even need to worry about most of the tough stuff. If you're new to Linux, this is a perfect way to get started. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and as always, have a very nice day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share if you found this video helpful, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.